Look at your motivational speech. Speak life, think victory. Speak life, think victory is not just a phrase. It is a way of living that transforms the direction of your entire life. Every word you speak and every thought you entertain becomes a seed planted in your subconscious mind. When you constantly speak doubt, fear, and failure, you unknowingly train your mind to expect defeat. But when you choose to speak life, words of hope, faith, strength, and possibility, you activate a powerful inner force that begins shaping your reality towards success. Your mind listens to you more than it listens to the world, and the language you use daily becomes the blueprint of your future. Victory begins the moment you decide that your thoughts will no longer be controlled by circumstances, but guided by belief and purpose. Thinking victory means seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. It means trusting that every challenge carries a lesson, and every setback prepares you for a greater comeback. Successful people are not free from problems. They simply refuse to allow negative thinking to define their destiny. When you think victory, you train your brain to search for solutions instead of excuses. You begin to walk with confidence, speak with clarity, and act with courage because your inner dialogue changes from "I can't" to "I will." The subconscious mind responds to repeated thoughts, so when you consistently imagine success, peace, and achievement, your actions naturally align with those expectations. Speaking life also influences the people around you. Words have energy. They can build confidence or destroy hope. When you encourage yourself and others, you create an atmosphere of growth and positivity. Instead of complaining about what is missing, start declaring what is possible. Replace fear with faith, worry with vision, and doubt with determination. Every morning, remind yourself that you are capable, guided, and destined for progress. Over time, these affirmations reshape your mindset and strengthen your belief system, allowing you to move forward even when circumstances seem uncertain. Victory is first won internally before it appears externally. The battles of life are decided in the mind long before they are seen in reality. When you discipline your thoughts and speak words aligned with success, you develop resilience that no obstacle can break. Choose today to guard your thoughts carefully and speak words that uplift your spirit. Speak life into your dreams, your goals, and your future. Think victory even when the path looks unclear, because belief creates direction and persistence creates results. Remember, your voice programs your mind, and your mind creates your world. So speak life, think victory, and watch your life rise to match the power of your words. The power of words is one of the most underestimated forces in human life, yet it quietly shapes our emotions, decisions, relationships, and ultimately our destiny. Every day, from the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep, you are speaking. Sometimes out loud, but most often within your own mind. These words become instructions that guide your subconscious, forming beliefs about who you are and what you are capable of achieving. Many people believe their circumstances control their life, but in reality, the language they repeatedly use about themselves and their situations plays a much greater role. Words are not just sounds, they carry meaning, emotion, and direction. When spoken consistently, they begin to influence how you think, how you feel, and how you act, and your actions eventually create your results. Consider how often people unknowingly speak defeat over their own lives. Statements like, "I can't do this," "Nothing ever works for me," or "I'm not good enough" may seem harmless in the moment, but the subconscious mind accepts repetition as truth. The mind does not argue with the words you repeatedly declare. It absorbs them and works silently to make them real. When negative words are repeated, the brain begins to search for evidence that supports those beliefs. Opportunities are ignored, risks feel more frightening, and confidence slowly disappears. Over time, a person begins living within limitations that were never real to begin with. Limitations created simply by language. On the other hand, when a person intentionally speaks life, words filled with hope, strength, and belief, something remarkable begins to happen internally. Positive words shift emotional energy. They calm fear, increase motivation, and awaken creativity. When you say, "I am learning," instead of "I always fail," your brain interprets challenges differently. Instead of seeing obstacles as proof of weakness, the mind starts recognizing them as steps toward growth. Allow. This change may seem small, but it creates a powerful psychological transformation. Confidence grows not because circumstances instantly improve, but because perception changes first. Science and psychology both support the idea that language influences reality through cognitive conditioning. The brain forms neural pathways based on repeated thoughts and spoken patterns. Every time you repeat a belief, you strengthen the mental pathway connected to it. Negative self-talk strengthens fear-based pathways, while positive affirmations strengthen pathways connected to confidence and resilience. Over time, these pathways become automatic responses. This means the way you speak today determines how your mind will naturally react tomorrow. Words literally train the brain. Imagine two individuals facing the same challenge, perhaps losing a job or failing at an important goal. One person says, "This proves I'm not capable," while the other says, "This is a lesson preparing me for something better." The external event is identical, yet the internal outcome becomes completely different. The first person experiences discouragement and hesitation, while the second develops determination and renewed effort. Words change emotional interpretation, and emotional interpretation changes behavior. Behavior, repeated consistently, becomes destiny. Speaking life is not about ignoring reality or pretending problems do not exist. It is about choosing empowering language even in difficult situations. Life will always include uncertainty, setbacks, and unexpected obstacles. But the words you use determine whether those moments weaken you or strengthen you. When you say, "I will find a way," your brain begins searching for solutions. When you declare, "This challenge will make me stronger," you activate resilience. Words act as commands, directing the mind toward either possibility or limitation. Lord Bill? Another important aspect of words is their effect on identity. People often describe themselves using labels they adopted years earlier, labels given by others or formed during moments of failure. Someone might say, "I'm shy," "I'm unlucky," or "I'm bad at success." These labels become internal scripts that guide behavior unconsciously. Once a person accepts an identity through repeated words, they begin acting in ways that confirm it. Changing life, therefore, requires changing language first. When you begin saying, "I am growing," "I am capable," or "I am improving every day," you slowly reshape how you see yourself. Identity shifts before results appear. Words also influence emotional health. Negative language increases stress and anxiety because the brain reacts to spoken thoughts as if they were real threats. Constantly speaking fear triggers the body's stress response, releasing hormones associated with worry and tension. Positive language, however, promotes calmness and optimism, encouraging the release of chemicals linked to motivation and well-being. This means your words do not only affect your mindset, they also influence your physical state. Speaking life literally creates a healthier emotional environment within your body. The power of words extends beyond self-talk into relationships with others. Encouraging words can inspire confidence in someone who is struggling, while careless negative remarks can discourage even the strongest person. Leaders, teachers, parents, and friends shape lives through language more than they realize. A single statement of belief, "I know you can do this," can ignite courage that lasts for years. Similarly, repeated criticism can plant doubt that takes decades to sow. When you understand the weight of words, you begin using them more intentionally, choosing to build rather than break. Consistency is the key to unlocking this power. Speaking life once or twice will not immediately transform reality, just as planting a seed once does not instantly grow a tree. Transformation happens through repetition. Daily affirmations, positive self-dialogue, and conscious language choices gradually reprogram the subconscious mind. At first, positive words may feel unnatural, especially if negative thinking has been practiced for years. However, persistence creates familiarity, and familiarity creates belief. Eventually, empowering language becomes automatic. Many successful individuals consciously monitor their words because they understand that language shapes focus. Instead of saying, "I hope things work out," They say, I am working towards success. Instead of this is impossible, they say this is challenging, but I will learn how. These subtle differences redirect attention from helplessness to action. Words guide focus, and focus determines effort. When effort aligns with belief, progress becomes inevitable. Another powerful element of speaking life is gratitude. Words of gratitude shift attention away from scarcity and toward abundance. When you regularly express appreciation for what you already have, the mind becomes more open to recognizing opportunities. Gratitude does not deny problems. It strengthens perspective. By acknowledging blessings, you develop emotional stability that allows you to face difficulties without losing hope. It is also important to recognize that silence can sometimes reinforce negative thinking. Many people allow harmful inner dialogue to continue unchecked simply because they never challenge it. Speaking life requires awareness, noticing negative thoughts, and intentionally replacing them with constructive ones. This is an active process, not a passive one. You become the author of your inner conversation rather than its victim. Over time, the cumulative effect of positive language becomes visible in behavior. Confidence increases because the mind expects progress. Courage grows because fear is no longer constantly reinforced. Creativity expands because possibilities are considered instead of dismissed. Even body language changes. Posture improves. Eye contact strengthens and actions become more decisive. Look, these external changes are reflections of internal transformation created by words. Critics sometimes misunderstand positive speech as unrealistic optimism, but true positive language is grounded in responsibility. It does not deny effort, it encourages it. Saying I will succeed is not magic by itself, but it creates the mental environment necessary for consistent action. Words alone do not replace work, yet they determine whether a person has the motivation to continue working despite setbacks. The most powerful conversations you will ever have are the ones you have with yourself. You are listening to your own voice more than anyone else's, and that voice becomes your internal guide. If it constantly criticizes, you move through life with hesitation. If it encourages, you move with confidence. Therefore, choosing your words carefully is one of the greatest forms of self-leadership. Every morning offers an opportunity to reset your language. Instead of beginning the day with worry, you can start with intention, declaring strength, clarity, and purpose. These words prepare the mind for productive action. Throughout the day, challenges will appear, but your chosen language determines your response. By evening, the words you repeated have already shaped your emotional experience and influenced your decisions. Ultimately, the power of words lies in their ability to transform belief, and belief transforms reality. Life changes when internal dialogue changes. Speaking life does not guarantee a life without struggle, but it guarantees a mindset strong enough to overcome struggle. It turns obstacles into lessons, fear into courage, and uncertainty into possibility. Each word you speak becomes a brushstroke painting the picture of your future. When you understand this truth deeply, you begin treating words with intention and respect. You stop speaking defeat casually and start declaring growth deliberately. You become aware that every sentence is either building your future or limiting it. By choosing words that uplift, encourage, and empower, you align your mind with progress. Over time, your thoughts, actions, and results begin reflecting the language you consistently use. Your reality is shaped not only by what happens to you, but by what you repeatedly say about what happens to you. Speak life into your dreams, into your challenges, and into your identity. Let your words become seeds of confidence planted daily in the soil of your subconscious mind. With patience, repetition, and belief, those seeds grow into habits, actions, and achievements that once seemed impossible. Life feeling when you look at the power has always been present, carried quietly within your own voice, waiting for you to use words that create, strengthen, and lead you toward the life you are meant to live. Thoughts are the invisible architects of human life. Long before actions are taken or results appear, ideas are formed quietly within the mind, shaping perception, emotion, and behavior. Every success or failure first exists as a thought pattern repeated over time. People often focus on external circumstances when trying to understand success, believing that luck, environment, or talent alone determines outcomes. Yet beneath every achievement lies a consistent way of think. Please, that directs decisions and fuels persistence. Thoughts are not passive events. They actively influence how individuals interpret reality and respond to challenges. The difference between progress and stagnation often begins with what a person repeatedly thinks about themselves and their possibilities. The human mind constantly interprets experiences, assigning meaning to every situation. Two people can encounter the same obstacle, yet one sees opportunity while the other sees defeat. This difference does not come from the event itself, but from the thoughts used to interpret it. When someone believes challenges are proof of failure, discouragement quickly follows. However, when challenges are viewed as lessons or stepping stones, motivation remains alive. Thoughts act as filters through which reality is understood, and those filters determine emotional reactions. Over time, emotional reactions influence behavior, and behavior shapes results. Negative thinking patterns often develop gradually, shaped by past experiences, criticism, fear, or repeated disappointments. A single failure can plant a seed of doubt, and if that doubt is repeated mentally, it grows into a belief. Eventually, a person begins expecting negative outcomes even before trying. This expectation reduces effort, limits creativity, and creates hesitation. The mind seeks consistency between belief and action. So when someone believes failure is likely, they unconsciously behave in ways that confirm it. Opportunities are avoided, risks are minimized, and growth slows. Failure then appears inevitable, not because of lack of ability, but because of limiting thoughts. Positive thinking, however, operates differently. It does not ignore problems or pretend life is perfect. Instead, it focuses on possibilities within challenges. Positive thinkers acknowledge difficulty while maintaining belief in reprogram. Look at your 9. This mindset encourages problem solving rather than avoidance. When the mind expects progress, it searches for solutions, learns from mistakes, and continues moving forward despite setbacks. Over time, persistence creates skill, and skill produces success. Positive thinking therefore becomes a practical strategy rather than mere optimism. The brain itself supports this process through adaptability known as neuroplasticity. Neural pathways strengthen based on repeated thoughts. When negative thoughts are practiced frequently, the brain becomes efficient at producing fear, doubt, or worry. Conversely, when positive and solution-focused thinking is practiced, pathways associated with confidence and resilience grow stronger. The mind becomes trained to respond constructively instead of reactively. This means thinking patterns are not fixed traits but habits that can be reshaped intentionally through repetition and awareness. Self-talk plays a central role in shaping these habits. The internal dialogue running throughout the day influences self-perception more than external opinions. Many individuals speak to themselves more harshly than they would ever speak to another person. Statements like, "I'm not smart enough," or "I always mess things up," reinforce insecurity. Over time, the subconscious mind accepts these statements as identity. Once identity forms, behavior aligns with it automatically. Changing outcomes, therefore, requires changing internal language first. Replacing destructive thoughts with constructive ones gradually rebuilds confidence. Positive thinking also enhances emotional resilience. Life inevitably includes uncertainty, disappointment, and unexpected change. Without supportive thoughts, these experiences can feel overwhelming. Positive thinkers are not immune to stress, but they recover faster because their mindset encourages hope and adaptability. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I learn from this?" This shift transforms adversity into growth. Emotional strength develops not from avoiding difficulty, but from interpreting difficulty constructively. Another powerful aspect of thinking patterns is focus. The mind naturally notices what it expects to find. When someone constantly thinks about problems, attention becomes fixed on obstacles. Even small challenges appear large because focus magnifies them. In contrast, when attention is directed toward goals and opportunities, motivation increases. The same world offers both limitations and possibilities, but thoughts determine which becomes visible. Focus guided by positive thinking leads to action guided by purpose. Visualization is closely connected to this process. When individuals imagine success vividly, the brain responds as if the experience were partially real. Mental rehearsal strengthens confidence and prepares the mind for action. Athletes, entrepreneurs, and performers often use visualization to enhance performance because imagining success reduces fear and increases readiness. Thoughts create emotional familiarity with achievement, making success feel attainable rather than distant. This emotional readiness influences behavior in subtle but powerful ways. Belief is another outcome of repeated thinking. Belief does not appear suddenly. It grows from consistent mental reinforcement. When a person repeatedly thinks about capability and improvement, belief strengthens gradually. This belief fuels persistence during difficult moments when motivation alone might fail. People who succeed are not always more talented. They often maintain belief longer than others. Their thoughts sustain effort until results appear. Environment also interacts with thinking patterns. Conversations, media consumption, and social influences shape mental habits. Surrounding oneself with negativity reinforces pessimistic thinking. We forces pessimistic thinking. We lead. Like your high exposure to encouragement and inspiration strengthens positive perspectives. However, ultimate responsibility remains internal. Even in challenging environments, individuals can choose thoughts that empower rather than limit. This choice requires awareness and discipline, but leads to greater independence from external negativity. Positive thinking influences decision-making as well. Fear-based thinking encourages avoidance, leading to missed opportunities. Confidence-based thinking encourages calculated risks and exploration. Growth often requires stepping beyond comfort zones, and thoughts determine whether such steps feel possible. When the mind expects learning rather than embarrassment, courage increases. Each courageous decision builds experience, and experience strengthens confidence further. Gratitude is another form of positive thinking that transforms perception. By focusing on what is already present, rather than what is lacking, gratitude shifts emotional balance towards satisfaction and motivation. This mindset reduces comparison and envy, allowing individuals to appreciate progress. Gratitude does not remove ambition. It creates emotional stability that supports sustained effort. People who practice gratitude often experience increased optimism because their thoughts highlight abundance rather than scarcity. Consistency remains essential in reshaping thought patterns. Occasional positive thoughts cannot override years of negativity. Transformation requires daily practice. Affirmations, reflection, journaling, and mindful awareness help reinforce constructive thinking. At first, new thoughts may feel artificial, especially when old beliefs remain strong. However, repetition gradually replaces familiarity. Eventually, positive thinking becomes natural rather than forced. Importantly, positive thinking must connect with action. Thoughts alone do not see. Thoughts alone do not see. Radiate success. They prepare the mind for effective effort. When thinking aligns with purposeful action, progress accelerates. A person who believes improvement is possible practices more, learns more, and persists longer. These behaviors compound over time, producing measurable results. Thoughts act as the starting point that energizes consistent action. Another benefit of positive thinking is improved relationships. People who maintain constructive thoughts communicate more respectfully and respond less defensively. Optimistic perspectives encourage empathy and understanding, strengthening social connections. Strong relationships provide emotional support, which further reinforces confidence and resilience. Thus, thinking patterns influence not only personal success, but also social harmony. Fear often challenges positive thinking, especially when uncertainty arises. The mind naturally imagines worst-case scenarios as a protective mechanism. However, dwelling on fear magnifies anxiety Without improving outcomes, positive thinking does not eliminate fear, but balances it with possibility. By acknowledging risk while focusing on preparation, individuals move forward despite uncertainty. Courage emerges when hopeful thoughts outweigh fearful ones. Over time, thinking patterns shape identity and lifestyle. Someone who consistently thinks about growth begins seeking knowledge, setting goals, and embracing challenges. These behaviors create momentum. Momentum builds confidence, and confidence in confidence encourages further growth. Success becomes a cycle sustained by thought patterns that support continuous improvement. Awareness remains the first step toward change. Many people are unaware of how frequently negative thoughts appear throughout the day. Simply observing thoughts without judgment reveals patterns that may have gone unnoticed for years. Once awareness develops, intenti. 5. Look at your auto replacement becomes possible. Each time a negative thought arises, choosing a constructive alternative weakens the old pattern and strengthens the new one. Patience is essential during this transformation. Mental habits developed over years do not disappear instantly. Progress occurs gradually through consistent effort. Small improvements accumulate until thinking patterns shift permanently. Over time, challenges that once felt overwhelming become manageable, becomes the mind approaches them differently. Ultimately, success and failure are influenced by how individuals think long before outcomes appear externally. Thoughts guide attention, shape emotion, influence decisions, and sustain effort. By choosing thoughts that encourage learning, resilience, and belief, individuals align themselves with growth. The mind becomes a partner in progress rather than an obstacle. Every moment offers an opportunity to choose thoughts intentionally. Instead of allowing fear or doubt to dominate, one can consciously focus on possibility and improvement. This choice, repeated daily, reshapes perception and behavior. Gradually, confidence replaces hesitation, clarity replaces confusion, and determination replaces discouragement. The journey toward success begins internally, within patterns of thought that guide every action. When thinking becomes aligned with purpose and optimism, challenges transform into opportunities for development. Life does not change overnight, but the direction of life changes the moment thinking changes. Through disciplined awareness, constructive self-talk, and persistent belief, thoughts evolve into powerful forces that shape a future defined not by limitation, but by possibility and achievement. Victory is not something that suddenly appears at the end of a journey. It begins quietly within the mind, long before any external success becomes visible. Very achievement, breakthrough, or transformation first exists as a mental decision, a belief that success is possible despite uncertainty. The human mind serves as the command center of life, interpreting experiences, assigning meaning, and directing actions. When a person learns that victory is first won internally, they begin to understand that circumstances do not hold ultimate power. Mindset does. External battles are reflections of internal beliefs, and the way an individual thinks determines whether challenges become barriers or stepping stones. Many people wait for confidence before taking action, believing that victory requires perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes. However, confidence is not a prerequisite for success. It is a result of thinking patterns cultivated over time, which the mind must first accept the possibility of victory before actions can align with it. When individuals repeatedly imagine failure, they unconsciously prepare themselves to retreat at the first sign of difficulty. Doubt weakens persistence, making obstacles appear larger than they truly are. Conversely, when someone trains their mind to expect progress, even small steps feel meaningful, and perseverance becomes natural. The internal dialogue a person maintains plays a crucial role in this process. Thoughts continuously shape emotional responses, and emotions influence behavior. If the mind constantly repeats messages of fear or inadequacy, hesitation follows. Decisions become cautious, opportunities are avoided, and growth slows. Yet when internal dialogue becomes supportive and empowering, courage increases. A person begins to act, not because fear disappears, but because belief becomes stronger than fear. Victory in the mind is therefore the ability to maintain constructive thoughts, even in uncertain situations. Challenges reveal the strength of one's mindset more than moments of comfort ever could. During easy periods, confidence may appear strong, but true mental victory emerges during difficulty. When plans fail or progress slows, the mind faces a choice: interpret the situation as proof of defeat or as preparation for improvement. Those who achieve lasting success develop the habit of reframing adversity. Instead of asking why something went wrong, they ask, what lesson can be learned? This shift preserves motivation and prevents discouragement from taking root. The subconscious mind plays an important role in internal victory. It absorbs repeated thoughts and transforms them into automatic responses. When a person consistently visualizes success and reinforces belief through positive thinking, the subconscious begins guiding behavior toward that expectation. Actions become aligned with goals without constant conscious effort. This alignment creates momentum, and momentum strengthens confidence. Over time, success feels less like a struggle and more like a natural progression, shaped by internal preparation. Visualization is a powerful tool in achieving mental victory. By imagining desired outcomes vividly, individuals prepare their minds emotionally and psychologically for achievement. Athletes often rehearse performances mentally before competing, allowing their brains to experience success before it occurs physically. This practice reduces anxiety and increases focus. Similarly, anyone pursuing personal or professional goals can benefit from imagining victory clearly, not as fantasy, but as preparation. The brain becomes familiar with success, making it easier to act with confidence when opportunities arise. Belief acts as fuel for persistence. Without belief, effort quickly fades when obstacles appear. With belief, individuals continue moving forward, even when results are delayed. Victory rarely occurs instantly. It requires susta. Look at your effort over time. The mind must therefore remain committed to progress even when external evidence is limited. Those who win internally maintain faith during periods when success is not yet visible. They understand that growth often occurs beneath the surface before becoming apparent. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles to mental victory. It often arises from uncertainty and the desire to avoid failure or rejection. However, fear gains power when accepted as truth rather than recognized as a temporary emotion. Winning the battle in the mind involves acknowledging fear while refusing to let it dictate decisions. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Each time a person chooses action over avoidance, the mind learns that fear does not control outcomes. Another essential element of internal victory is self-discipline. Thoughts naturally wander toward comfort and familiarity, sometimes reinforcing limiting beliefs. Discipline allows individuals to redirect their thinking intentionally. This may involve replacing negative assumptions with constructive perspectives or reminding oneself of long-term goals during moments of doubt. Over time, disciplined thinking strengthens mental resilience, enabling individuals to remain focused even under pressure. Patience also plays a significant role in mental success. Modern culture often emphasizes immediate results, leading many people to abandon goals prematurely. When progress feels slow, the mind may interpret delay as failure. However, victory in the mind recognizes that growth requires time. Seeds planted today may take months or years to produce visible outcomes. Maintaining belief during waiting periods demonstrates true mental strength. Patience transforms frustration into perseverance. Internal victory influences how individuals respond to setbacks. Failure becomes information rather than identity. Instead of labeling themselves unsuccessful, resilient individuals view mistakes as part of the learning process. This perspective encourages experimentation and continuous improvement. The mind remains open to growth, allowing each experience to contribute to future success. Over time, setbacks lose their emotional intensity because they are no longer interpreted as permanent defeats. Confidence develops gradually through repeated mental wins. Each time a person chooses hope over doubt, action over hesitation, or learning over discouragement, they strengthen belief in their ability to overcome challenges. These small victories accumulate, forming a strong foundation of self-trust. Eventually, confidence becomes stable, rather than dependent on external validation. The individual begins relying on internal belief, rather than circumstances for motivation. Environment can influence mindset, but internal victory ensures independence from negativity. People may encounter criticism, skepticism, or discouraging opinions, yet a strong mental foundation prevents these influences from defining self-worth. Individuals who have won the battle in their minds evaluate feedback constructively without allowing it to destroy confidence. They understand that others' opinions reflect perspectives, not absolute truth. Gratitude strengthens mental victory by shifting attention toward progress rather than lack. Recognizing achievements, no matter how small, reinforces belief in forward movement. Gratitude creates emotional balance, reducing stress and increasing optimism. When the mind regularly acknowledges growth, motivation increases naturally. This positive emotional state supports sustained effort toward long-term goals. Another important aspect of internal victory is clarity of purpose. Without direction, thoughts become scattered and motivation weakens. A clear vision provides the mind with focus, guiding decisions and priorities. When individuals understand why they pursue a goal, challenges feel meaningful rather than burdensome. Purpose transforms effort into commitment, allowing persistence even when difficulties arise. Consistency ultimately determines whether mental victory translates into external success. Occasional positive thinking cannot overcome deeply ingrained doubt. Daily practice is required, monitoring thoughts, reinforcing belief, and maintaining focus. Over time, consistent thinking patterns reshape identity. A person begins to see themselves as capable, resilient, and determined. When you look at this identity influences behavior automatically, making productive actions more natural. Emotional control is another outcome of winning internally. Instead of reacting impulsively to setbacks or criticism, individuals respond thoughtfully. They recognize that emotions are temporary signals rather than permanent realities. This awareness allows them to maintain composure and make decisions aligned with long-term goals rather than short-term feelings. The journey toward mental victory also involves self-compassion. Harsh self-criticism weakens confidence and discourages growth. Treating oneself with understanding during mistakes fosters resilience. When individuals accept imperfection as part of progress, they remain motivated to continue improving. Self-compassion encourages learning instead of avoidance. Positive mental victory strengthens external behavior changes naturally. Posture becomes more confident, communication more assertive, and decision-making more decisive. Others often notice these changes before results fully appear. Confidence attracts opportunities because it signals readiness and capability. The world begins responding differently when internal belief shifts. Ultimately, victory is an internal state before it becomes an external achievement. Success is not merely the result of favorable circumstances, but the outcome of a mind trained to persist, believe, and adapt. When individuals master their thoughts, they gain control over their reactions and direction. Challenges lose their power to discourage because belief remains steady. Every day presents new mental battles, moments where doubt competes with confidence and fear competes with courage. Winning these small battles consistently leads to lasting transformation. Each positive thought strengthens resilience, each courageous action reinforces belief, and each lesson learned moves a person closer to their goals. The realization that victory begins in the mind empowers individuals to take responsibility for their inner world. Instead of waiting for conditions to change, they begin changing their thoughts. This shift creates momentum that influences every area of life. Gradually, external results align with internal expectations. When the mind embraces victory first, persistence becomes natural, challenges become opportunities, and growth becomes inevitable. The journey may include setbacks and uncertainty, but internal belief provides direction through every obstacle. By cultivating empowering thoughts, maintaining focus, and choosing resilience daily, individuals create a mindset capable of achieving lasting success. Victory, therefore, is not something discovered at the finish line. It is something created within long before the world can see it. Replacing negativity with faith and purpose is one of the most powerful transformations a person can experience because the human mind naturally moves in the direction of its dominant thoughts. Like negativity often develops quietly, shaped by past disappointments, fear of failure, criticism from others, or repeated exposure to discouraging environments. Over time, these influences create internal patterns that feel automatic. A person may begin expecting problems before they happen, doubting their abilities before trying, or assuming defeat before effort even begins. This mental habit slowly drains motivation and limits potential, not because opportunities are absent, but because belief has weakened. The process of replacing negativity with faith and purpose begins when an individual becomes aware that thoughts are choices, not permanent truths. Negativity thrives on repetition. The more a person focuses on what is wrong, unfair, or uncertain, the more the brain strengthens pathways connected to worry and doubt. These thoughts influence emotions, creating stress, anxiety, and hesitation. When the mind constantly anticipates failure, the body responds with tension and fear, making challenges feel overwhelming. Many people assume these feelings are caused entirely by external circumstances, yet much of the emotional weight comes from interpretation rather than reality itself. The same situation can produce despair in one person and determination in another because their internal perspectives differ. Changing perspective, therefore, becomes the first step toward transformation. Faith does not necessarily mean ignoring difficulty. It means choosing belief despite difficulty. It is the decision to trust that growth, improvement, and progress remain possible even when results are not immediately visible. Faith shifts focus from limitation to possibility. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" the mind begins asking, "What can this teach me?" This question alone redirects energy toward learning and adaptation. Faith encourages movement forward when certainty is absent, allowing individuals to act even when outcomes are unknown. Purpose provides direction for faith. Without purpose, positive thinking may feel temporary or shallow because there is no clear reason to persist. Purpose answers the question of why effort matters. When individuals connect their actions to meaningful goals, personal growth, helping others, building stability, or fulfilling a vision, challenges gain significance. Difficult moments become part of a larger journey rather than isolated struggles. Purpose transforms effort into commitment and converts obstacles into necessary steps toward fulfillment. Negativity often speaks in absolute terms. "I will never succeed," "nothing changes," or "I'm not capable." These thoughts feel convincing because they are emotionally charged, but they are rarely accurate. Replacing negativity requires challenging these assumptions with balanced and constructive thoughts. Instead of accepting defeatist conclusions, individuals can ask whether there is evidence for growth, improvement, or alternative outcomes. This practice weakens negative thinking patterns and opens space for hope. Faith grows through small acts of trust, repeated consistently. Each time a person chooses to continue despite doubt, faith strengthens. Progress may begin with simple changes. Speaking encouraging words, setting manageable goals, or celebrating small achievements. These actions send signals to the brain that effort leads to improvement. Over time, confidence increases because the mind gathers proof that positive expectations can become reality. Purpose also helps regulate emotional reactions. When people lack direction, setbacks feel meaningless and discouraging. However, when guided by purpose, challenges become temporary obstacles rather than permanent failures. A person pursuing a meaningful goal understands that discomfort and effort are part of growth. This understanding reduces frustration and increases resilience. The mind becomes less focused on immediate discomfort and more focused on long-term vision. On. One of the greatest obstacles to replacing negativity is familiarity. Negative thinking may feel normal, simply because it has been practiced for years. Positive thinking at first can feel unnatural or unrealistic. However, familiarity does not equal truth. Mental habits are learned through repetition, and they can be relearned through intentional practice. Each time a person redirects a negative thought toward a constructive perspective, they weaken old pathways and strengthen new ones. Gradually, positivity becomes more natural than negativity. Faith also influences decision-making. Negative thinking encourages avoidance and safety, limiting opportunities for growth. Faith encourages exploration and action. Individuals guided by faith are more willing to learn new skills, pursue goals, and take calculated risks. These actions create experiences that expand confidence. Over time, the gap between perceived limitations and actual capability becomes clear, reinforcing belief in personal potential. Purpose strengthens perseverance during periods of uncertainty. Many goals require time before results appear, and without purpose, patience becomes difficult. When individuals remember why they started, motivation returns even during slow progress. Purpose acts as an anchor, preventing discouragement from pulling the mind back into negativity. It provides emotional stability during unpredictable circumstances. Another important aspect of transformation is self-forgiveness. Negativity often persists because individuals hold on to past mistakes, replaying failures repeatedly in their minds. This habit reinforces shame and discouragement. Faith involves accepting that growth includes imperfection. By forgiving past errors and viewing them as lessons rather than permanent labels, individuals free themselves to move forward. Purpose becomes stronger when energy is directed toward improvement instead of regret. Environment plays a role as well. Conversations, media, and social interactions influence thinking patterns. Surrounding oneself with supportive voices and uplifting ideas reinforces faith and optimism. However, internal responsibility remains essential. Even in challenging environments, individuals can choose how they interpret experiences. Developing inner faith allows resilience regardless of external conditions. Gratitude serves as a powerful bridge between negativity and purpose. When individuals intentionally recognize what is working in their lives, even in small ways, perspective shifts. Gratitude reduces focus on lack and increases awareness of possibility. This emotional shift strengthens faith because it highlights progress already present. Over time, gratitude trains the mind to notice opportunities rather than obstacles. Purpose-driven thinking also enhances discipline. When actions align with meaningful goals, motivation becomes more consistent. Tasks that once felt burdensome gain significance because they contribute to something valuable. This connection between daily effort and long-term vision encourages persistence. Discipline becomes an expression of purpose rather than a forced obligation. Fear often resurfaces during transformation, attempting to restore familiar patterns of negativity. The mind may question new beliefs, creating doubt. Recognizing fear as a natural response, rather than a sign of failure, helps maintain progress. Faith involves continuing forward, despite uncertainty, trusting that growth occurs through experience. Each step taken despite fear strengthens confidence and reduces the power of negativity. Replacing negativity also improves relationships. Individuals guided by faith and purpose communicate with greater patience and empathy. They become less reactive and more understanding. Use their mindset emphasizes growth rather than blame. Positive communication strengthens connections, creating supportive environments that further reinforce constructive thinking. Over time, identity begins to change. Instead of seeing themselves as victims of circumstance, individuals begin viewing themselves as active participants in their own growth. This identity shift influences behavior automatically. Confidence increases, creativity expands, and resilience strengthens. The person who once focused on limitations begins focusing on possibilities. Faith and purpose together create momentum. Faith provides belief in progress, while purpose provides direction for effort. When combined, they transform ordinary actions into meaningful steps toward fulfillment. Momentum builds gradually, turning small successes into larger achievements. This process reinforces positivity, creating a cycle of growth that sustains itself. Patience remains essential throughout this journey. Deeply rooted negativity cannot disappear instantly. Transformation occurs through consistent practice, choosing hopeful thoughts, acting with intention, and reconnecting with purpose daily. Each moment of awareness becomes an opportunity to reinforce new patterns. Over time, these patterns become habits, and habits shape character. The emotional benefits of replacing negativity are profound. Anxiety decreases as hope increases. Confidence grows as belief strengthens. Confidence grows as belief strengthens. Energy rises because mental resistance fades. Individuals feel more capable of handling challenges because their thoughts support action rather than undermine it. This internal harmony allows creativity and motivation to flourish. Purpose also encourages contribution beyond personal success. When individuals connect their goals to helping others or creating positive impact, motivation deepens. Life gains meaning beyond temporary achievements. This broader perspective strengthens resilience because setbacks no longer threaten identity. They simply become part of a larger mission. Ultimately, replacing negativity with faith and purpose transforms how life is experienced. Circumstances may still include challenges, but interpretation changes. Problems become opportunities for learning, delays become preparation, and uncertainty becomes possibility. The mind shifts from survival mode to growth mode, allowing individuals to pursue goals with courage and clarity. Each day offers countless moments to practice this transformation. Every negative thought can be questioned, every doubt can be balanced with belief, and every action can be aligned with purpose. And every action can be aligned with purpose. Through repetition and intention, faith grows stronger than fear, and purpose becomes clearer than confusion. Over time, this internal shift reshapes behavior, relationships, and outcomes. Life changes not only because circumstances improve, but because perspective evolves. When negativity loses its dominance and faith takes its place, individuals discover strength they did not realize they possessed. Purpose guides decisions, faith sustains effort, and together they create a mindset capable of overcoming obstacles and achieving meaningful success. The journey toward fulfillment begins within, where thoughts are chosen, belief is cultivated, and purpose transforms ordinary existence into a life driven by hope, direction, and lasting growth. Consistent positive self-talk is one of the most powerful forces shaping human confidence, because the mind continuously listens to the words it hears most often, especially those spoken internally. Every individual carries an ongoing conversation within themselves, a quiet stream of thoughts that interprets experiences, evaluates performance, and predicts outcomes. This internal dialogue operates throughout the day, influencing emotions, decisions, and behavior, even when a person is not consciously aware of it. Over time, these repeated messages form beliefs, and beliefs shape identity. When self-talk becomes encouraging and constructive, confidence grows naturally. When it becomes critical and negative, self-doubt strengthens. The difference between resilience and insecurity often lies not in external conditions, but in the tone and consistency of inner communication. Many people underestimate the impact of self-talk because it feels invisible and automatic. However, the brain does not distinguish strongly between words spoken aloud and words imagined internally. Both activate emotional responses and influence neural pathways. When someone repeatedly tells themselves that they are capable, improving, and learning, the brain begins accepting these ideas as truth. This acceptance affects posture, tone of voice, and willingness to act. Conversely, constant internal criticism programs hesitation and fear. Statements like, "I'm not good enough," or "I always fail," gradually become self-fulfilling beliefs, limiting effort before results even have a chance to develop. Confidence is not an inborn trait reserved for a few fortunate individuals. It is a mental habit built through repetition. Consistent positive self-talk acts as training for the mind, reinforcing supportive beliefs until they become automatic. Just as physical exercise strengthens muscles through repeated movement, mental affirmation strengthens confidence through repeated encouragement. At first, positive statements may feel artificial, especially if negative thinking has existed for years. Yet repetition slowly reshapes familiarity. What once felt unnatural begins to feel normal, and the mind adapts to its new pattern of thinking. Self-talk influences how individuals interpret mistakes. Negative internal dialogue often turns small errors into personal failures, creating shame and discouragement. Positive self-talk, however, reframes mistakes as opportunities for growth. Instead of saying, "I failed," a person might think, "I learned something valuable." This subtle shift protects motivation and encourages persistence. Confidence grows when individuals believe they can improve rather than fearing permanent judgment. The mind becomes a supportive coach instead of a harsh critic. Emotional resilience also develops through consistent self-talk. Life inevitably presents setbacks, uncertainty, and unexpected change. During difficult moments, internal dialogue becomes especially influential. A negative inner voice may amplify stress by predicting worst-case outcomes, while a positive voice provides reassurance and direction. Reminding oneself of past successes, strengths, and possibilities helps stabilize emotions. Over time, this habit builds resilience, allowing individuals to recover from challenges more quickly. The subconscious mind plays a crucial role in this process. It absorbs repeated thoughts without strong evaluation, storing them as beliefs that guide automatic behavior. When positive affirmations are practiced consistently, the subconscious begins aligning actions with those messages. For example, someone who repeatedly tells themselves they are confident may begin speaking more clearly or taking initiative without conscious effort. The mind seeks consistency between belief and behavior, so positive self-talk gradually transforms actions. Consistency matters more than intensity. Occasional encouragement cannot outweigh daily criticism. The brain responds to frequency, meaning small positive statements, repeated regularly, have greater impact than rare moments of motivation. Daily affirmations, mindful reflection, or intentional encouragement strengthen neural pathways associated with confidence. Over weeks and months, these patterns become deeply rooted, influencing reactions automatically. Self-talk also affects goal setting and ambition. Individuals who encourage themselves internally are more likely to pursue meaningful challenges because they believe success is possible. Positive dialogue reduces fear of failure, making experimentation feel safe. Each attempt becomes an opportunity rather than a risk to self-worth. This willingness to try leads to experience, and experience strengthens. Confidence grows not only from success, but from repeated engagement with challenges. Another important aspect of positive self-talk is emotional regulation. Thoughts influence physiological responses, including heart rate, stress hormones, and energy levels. Encouraging internal messages can calm anxiety and improve focus during high-pressure situations. Athletes, performers, and leaders often rely on positive self-talk to maintain composure. By repeating phrases that reinforce calmness and capability, they direct attention toward performance rather than fear. Language choice plays a significant role in shaping outcomes. Words such as always, never, or impossible create rigid thinking patterns that limit growth. Replacing these with flexible language, learning, improving, or trying again encourages adaptability. Positive self-talk does not deny difficulty, but frames challenges as temporary and manageable. This perspective keeps motivation alive during periods of uncertainty. Consistency and self-talk also strengthens self-trust. When individuals repeatedly encourage themselves and follow through with action, they build a sense of reliability within. They begin trusting their ability to handle challenges, which reduces dependence on external validation. Confidence becomes internally generated rather than dependent on praise or approval from others. This independence allows individuals to pursue goals aligned with their values rather than seeking constant reassurance. Positive self-talk influences relationships as well. People who treat themselves with kindness often extend that kindness to others. They communicate more patiently and respond less defensively because their internal environment is supportive rather than critical. Look at your healthy self-talk fosters empathy and understanding, improving social connections and collaboration. Visualization often works alongside positive self-talk. When encouraging words are combined with mental images of success, belief strengthens more rapidly. The brain experiences imagined success, similarly to real success, reinforcing confidence. When you look at your repeating affirmations while visualizing positive outcomes creates emotional familiarity with achievement, reducing fear when opportunities arise. Developing consistent self-talk requires awareness. Many negative thoughts occur automatically, shaped by past experiences or social conditioning. Observing thoughts without judgment helps identify patterns that undermine confidence. Once recognized, these thoughts can be replaced intentionally. Each replacement weakens the old habit and strengthens the new one. Over time, the mind becomes trained to respond constructively by default. Patience remains essential during this process. Changing internal dialogue is similar to learning a new skill. Progress occurs gradually. Early attempts may feel forced or ineffective, but persistence leads to an noticeable change. Emotional reactions become calmer, decisions more confident, and motivation more stable. These changes reinforce commitment to positive thinking. Self-compassion is closely connected to positive self-talk. Treating oneself with understanding during difficult moments prevents discouragement from becoming permanent. Instead of harsh criticism, supportive language encourages learning and recovery. This approach does not reduce accountability, it strengthens it by maintaining motivation. People are more likely to improve when guided by encouragement rather than shame. Daily routines can reinforce consistent self-talk. Morning affirmations, reflective journaling, or brief moments of gratitude help establish positive mental tone. Repeating empowering statements before challenges prepares the mind for success. Evening reflection allows recognition of progress, reinforcing belief in growth. These practices create structure that supports lasting mental change. Over time, consistent positive self-talk reshapes identity. A person who once doubted their abilities begins seeing themselves as capable and resilient. This identity shift influences behavior automatically. Opportunities are approached with curiosity rather than fear, and setbacks are handled with determination rather than defeat. Confidence becomes a natural expression of internal belief. The benefits extend beyond personal achievement. Positive self-talk increases creativity because fear of judgment decreases. It improves focus by reducing mental distraction caused by worry. It enhances physical well-being by lowering stress levels and promoting emotional balance. The mind and body work together more harmoniously when internal dialogue is supportive. Importantly, positive self-talk must remain realistic and grounded. Genuine confidence comes from acknowledging challenges while believing in the ability to overcome them. Statements rooted in growth and effort feel authentic, making them more effective. The goal is not perfection, but progress, reinforcing belief that improvement is always possible. Consistency ultimately transforms effort into habit. What begins as intentional practice becomes automatic thinking. Encouraging thoughts arise naturally during difficulty, guiding behavior toward solutions. Confidence stabilizes because it is reinforced daily rather than dependent on temporary success. Each moment offers an opportunity to shape internal dialogue. Every encouraging word strengthens resilience, every supportive thought builds confidence, and every act of self-kindness reinforces belief in personal value. Over time, these small choices accumulate, creating a mindset capable of facing challenges with courage and optimism. Confidence built through consistent positive self-talk is durable because it originates internally. External circumstances may change, but the supportive voice within remains steady. This inner strength allows individuals to pursue goals, adapt to challenges, and maintain hope even during uncertainty. By choosing words that uplift rather than discourage, individuals program their minds for growth, resilience, and lasting confidence, proving that the way we speak to ourselves ultimately shapes the life we create.